Hello and welcome to Indus News. Live from Islamabad, I'm Naila Shuja and these are the headlines.
Chances are very bleak, really speaking. And I think if it is too much long time, they are missing and there is no clue and no communication with them.
The president of Pakistan's Alpine Club, Abu Zafar Siddique, says another search operation for the 3 missing climbers on K2 will be launched on Sunday, but said there are slim chances for their survival due to the harsh weather conditions. Muhammad Ali Sadbara from Pakistan, Joan Cernino from Iceland, and Juan Pablo Moher from Chile lost contact with the base camp on Friday. Earlier, an army helicopter conducted a search operation but could not trace anything. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says the people of occupied Kashmir will succeed in getting their right to self-determination. In an interview, Khan said India tried hard to isolate Pakistan internationally, but failed to do so. In India, farmers have ended their wheel jam strike but vowed to continue protesting against the contentious farm laws. Farmer unions say they will not be pressurized into holding talks with the government. Internet services remain suspended at the protest sites around New Delhi. Myanmar's military rulers have shut down the internet across the country. This comes in the face of a growing protest movement against the coup that ousted Aung San Suu Kyi and halted democracy. Meanwhile, thousands of people have joined a protest against this week's military coup in the country's biggest city of Yangon. China has approved the homemade Sinovac coronavirus vaccine for public use. It is the second locally made vaccine to be given approval after the Sinopharm vaccine. The virus has infected more than 105 million people worldwide and claimed over 2.3 million lives. Of them, 11,914 have died in Pakistan. And in cricket, Pakistan leads South Africa by 200 runs in their second innings of the final test at the Rawalpindi Stadium. The host ended the third day on 129 for 6 after bowling out Pro Teas out for just 201 runs. Pakistan lead the 2-match series 1-0. For more news and details, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. Pakistani mountaineer Muhammad Ali Sadbara, along with 2 other climbers, has gone missing while attempting to summit the world's second tallest mountain, K2. Pakistan's Alpine Club says an army helicopter has conducted a search operation but could not trace anything. More in this report.
Unlike Mount Everest, which has been scaled by thousands of climbers, K2 is much less traveled due to its tough conditions. Winds can blow at more than 200 kilometers per hour and temperatures can drop to minus 60 degrees Celsius. But Pakistan's Muhammad Ali Sadbara, along with John Snorri from Iceland and Juan Pablo Moore from Chile, began their push for the K2 summit at midnight between Thursday and Friday. They lost contact with the base camp on Friday, prompting authorities in Pakistan to launch a search operation. The president of Pakistan's Alpine Club says chances for their survival are slim due to the harsh weather condition.
Chances are very bleak, really speaking. And I think if it is too much long time, they are missing and there is no clue and no communication with them, and the chances are not much, encouraging. And
he says another search operation for the missing climbers will be launched on Sunday.
Rescue expedition launched today. They searched through heli, and they also dropped two, fresh high altitude reporter in the base camp. And tomorrow again, they will try to, locate and search the climbers who are missing. So we expect tomorrow again there, an attempt for the search, both through heli and also the climbers who reach the base camp may have an option for the, by on the ground search as well.
News of the missing man comes a day after a Bulgarian mountaineer was confirmed to have died on K2. A team of Nepali climbers made history last month when they became the first to scale the peak in winter.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says the people of occupied Kashmir will succeed in getting their right to self-determination. In an interview, Khan said India tried hard to isolate Pakistan internationally but failed to do so. This comes a day after he urged the United Nations to honor its promises made to Kashmiris during an address on Kashmir Solidarity Day. The Prime Minister called on India to restore Kashmir's autonomy and hold dialogue with Pakistan. Earlier, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said India must halt its atrocities in Kashmir. Qureshi said India violated international laws through a controversial legislation that is changing the territory's demographic structure. He was addressing the virtual conference of the OIC contact group involving Azerbaijan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Niger. In occupied Kashmir, Hurriyat leaders hailed Prime Minister Imran Khan's reminder to the international community on its unfulfilled promise to Kashmiris. In a statement, they said Khan always stressed for the resolution of the Kashmir dispute through dialogue. It said India should respond positively to Imran Khan's statement and come to the table for the settlement of this long-pending dispute. This comes a day after Khan addressed a rally to mark Kashmir Solidarity Day. Khan had urged India to restore Kashmir's autonomy and hold talks with Pakistan. Pakistan and the United Arab Emirates have expressed their resolve to solidify and strengthen bilateral ties. Prime Minister Imran Khan and Abu Dhabi's Crown Prince Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan discussed this in a phone call. The two leaders reaffirmed the existing close fraternal relations between Pakistan and the UAE. They also agreed to continue working closely to enhance bilateral ties as well as cooperation in multilateral bodies. In India, farmers have ended their hours-long wheel jam strike but vowed to continue protesting against the contentious farm laws. Farmer unions say they will not be pressurized into holding talks with the government. They are demanding to restore the law to the minimum support price for crop procurement. Internet services remain suspended at the protest sites around New Delhi. Earlier, police clashed with the farmers and blocked roads with makeshift tents and tractors. They detained several farmer leaders ahead of the strike. Tens of thousands of farmers have been camping at the Delhi borders for over 2 months, demanding a rollback of the laws. 3 blasts have rocked Afghanistan's capital city of Kabul, leaving 3 people dead. Today's explosions occurred amidst a sharp increase in targeted attacks in Kabul in the last 2 months. Security officials say 2 civilians and a policeman were among those killed, while 5 others wounded. No group has claimed responsibility for the attacks. Earlier, the Defense Ministry said 27 Taliban fighters were killed during operations in different parts of the country. A Taliban delegation has discussed the Afghan peace process and the country's political situation with Turkmenistan's officials. In a tweet, Taliban spokesperson Dr. Mohammad Naim said Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar led the delegation. He said the delegation discussed bilateral issues, including border security, Turkmenistan's projects in Afghanistan, and prisoners' issues. Naim said issues like the Tapi pipeline and the railway projects were also discussed in the meeting. Mullah Baradar affirmed the willingness to implement the discussed projects. The Taliban delegation visited Akshabad at the official invitation from Turkmenistan. The United States has reaffirmed its commitment to an enduring partnership with Afghanistan. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin reiterated Washington's resolve during a phone call to President Ashraf Ghani. The Pentagon said that the 2 leaders talked about the Afghan peace process and the imperative for a negotiated settlement to end the war. In a statement, it said Austin and Ghani discussed the shared sacrifices of the United States and Afghanistan forces in the war against terror. They also acknowledged the collective gains made over the last 2 decades. The Pentagon added both sides emphasized the importance of seizing this opportunity for peace. The call comes as Afghanistan faces rising attacks, with both the Taliban and the government pinning blame on each other. Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif has urged the United States to act fast to return to the 2015 nuclear deal. In an interview, Zarif warned that the deal could be jeopardized if a hardline president is elected in June elections. He added that the legislation passed by Parliament forces the government to harden its nuclear stance if sanctions are not erased by 21st of February. Zarif said that time is running out for Washington because of the Parliament bill and the coming election atmosphere in Iran. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration is exploring ways to restore the deal, but it says that the accord will only be restored after Tehran resumes strict compliance with its terms. United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken has discussed bilateral ties in his first phone call with the Saudi foreign minister. This comes a day after President Joe Biden ended the U.S. support for a Saudi-led military offensive in Yemen. Saudi state media said Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan congratulated Blinken on his appointment. Prince Faisal said the Riyadh is eager to cooperate with Biden to maintain security and stability in the region. The two sides also discussed historic and strategic ties between Riyadh and Washington. Blinken's first call to a Gulf state since assuming his new role was to the UAE's Minister of Foreign Affairs on Thursday. The United States says it intends to revoke the terrorist designation of Yemen's Houthi movement. This comes a day after President Joe Biden declared a halt to U.S. support for the ongoing war in Yemen. The State Department said the reversal was entirely due to the dire humanitarian situation in Yemen. It said that the action did not reflect Washington's view of the Houthis and their reprehensible conduct. The previous administration blacklisted the Houthis a day before Biden's inauguration, drawing criticism from the United Nations and humanitarian organizations. Meanwhile, the United Nations has welcomed the plan, saying it will provide relief to millions relying on humanitarian aid. Human rights groups say the Israeli army has detained over 450 Palestinians in January. In a joint statement, the Palestinian group said they arrested people including 93 children and 8 women. They said 105 administrative detention orders were carried out by occupation authorities, including 30 new orders. At present, around 4,500 Palestinians are languishing in Israeli jails without any charge or trial. Palestinian rights groups say over 350 inmates have been infected with COVID-19 due to deliberate Israeli medical negligence. The International Criminal Court has ruled that it has jurisdiction over war crimes committed in the Palestinian territories. The ruling has paved the way for the World Court for a possible war crimes investigation.
The ICC judges said the court's territorial jurisdiction and the situation in Palestine extend to the territories occupied by Israel since 1967. They said these territories include Gaza and the West Bank and East Jerusalem. The Palestinian Authority has welcomed the top court's ruling, saying it is a historic day for the principle of accountability. Prime Minister Mohammed Shataya called the ICC decision a victory for justice and humanity. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected the decision, calling the tribunal as political. Meanwhile, the U.S. says it has serious concerns about ICC's efforts to assert jurisdiction over Israeli personnel. ICC's prosecutor Fatou Bensouda said her office is studying the decision. In 2019, Bensouda said there was a reasonable basis to open a war crimes probe into Israeli military actions in the Gaza Strip and settlement activity in the West Bank. The top UN court's ruling came after Bensouda asked the court to determine whether she has territorial jurisdiction before proceeding with the case.
The world powers have welcomed Libya's rival political group's agreement to form an interim government. The interim setup was formed after 5 days of talk in Switzerland. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres welcomed the development, saying the United Nations will keep supporting Libyans to build a peaceful country. The United Kingdom's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office said the governments of France, Germany, Italy, and the United States hailed the agreement. Turkey welcomed the development and hoping that the new government will take office as soon as possible on the basis of roadmap adopted by the forum. The Libyan forum selected interim government with Mohamed Al-Menfi as presidency council head and Abdul Hamid Dilbi as prime minister. All the candidates for the new government vowed to hold national presidential and parliamentary elections on the 24th of December. In Myanmar, the military rulers have extended a social media blockade to Twitter and Instagram until further notice. This comes in the face of a growing protest movement against the coup that ousted Aung San Suu Kyi and halted democracy. The Twitter spokesperson said the company is deeply concerned about the order to block internet services in Myanmar. The Facebook confirmed that the block on Instagram and urged authorities to restore connectivity. In a statement, Telenor said that it had challenged its necessity to authorities. Meanwhile, thousands of people have joined a protest against the coup in Myanmar's biggest city, Yangon. The protesters chanted against the military, saying the dictators will fail and democracy will win. They also called for the release of San Suu Kyi and others who have been detained since the army seized power on Monday. It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Brazil's coronavirus death toll has surpassed 230,000, while its caseload has exceeded 9.4 million. Globally, the virus has claimed over 2.29 million lives and infected over 105 million people. More on the coronavirus in this report.
The complications attached to the COVID-19 disease keep growing as the virus gets stronger. In the U.S., Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington says an estimated 631,000 Americans will die from COVID-19 by June 1st. Meanwhile, the U.S. House of Representatives has passed a key step, enabling Democrats to push President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package through Congress. In Brazil, after the intense political controversies over the handling of the outbreak in the city of Manaus, the regional authorities are boosting the COVID-19 hospital's capacity to cope with the surging cases. In Europe, Portugal is witnessing more critical COVID-19 patients than ever, as the situation intensified in the country with over half of deaths occurring after December 30th. A more contagious variant of the coronavirus first detected in Britain now accounts for almost 6% of all cases in Germany. In the UK, up to 100 children per week are being hospitalized with a rare post-COVID-19 disease. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization says the number of vaccinations has surpassed the number of reported infections globally.
More than 3/4 of those vaccinations are in just 10 countries that account for almost 60% of global GDP. Almost 130 countries with 2.5 billion people are yet to administer a single dose.
Meanwhile, South African special investigators say around $17 million in coronavirus funds were siphoned off last year. New Zealand is investigating a new community infection among people who completed mandatory isolation at an Auckland quarantine facility.
While in Pakistan, another 28 people have died from COVID-19 overnight. The country's death toll has risen to 11,914. The health ministry reported that 1,286 new infections overnight. The ministry says out of nearly 553,000 cases detected so far, over 508,000 have recovered. It added that the number of active COVID-19 cases has crossed 32,000. The ministry said more than 2,000 patients across the country are admitted in hospitals. The Pakistan Navy is set to hold the 7th multinational maritime exercise Aman this month in Karachi. Naval forces from around 45 countries will participate in the 5-day drill being held to promote peace.
Pakistan Navy is on the front from the defense of maritime frontiers to humanitarian assistance. from national to regional collaborations, and from regional security patrols to global partnerships. The multinational naval exercise, Aman, is conducted after every 2 years since it was initiated in 2007. This year's exercise is being held under the motto, Together for Peace. In the drill, naval forces from across the world exchange their experiences in order to combat common threats at sea. The Pakistan Navy official says the drill has played a significant role in enhancing the country's war and maritime security capabilities. The naval drill is believed to play a pivotal role in promoting regional and global maritime peace and stability.
The United States Air Force will carry out a comprehensive review of security on its bases of all around the world. This comes after the intruder entered a key military facility, which is home to Air Force One, the aircraft that flies the president. Officials said an unarmed man was able to make his way onto the Joint Base Andrews, but they added there were no indications that he had any links to extremist groups. Talking to reporters, Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said that the authorities made adjustments to security protocols at the base.
Everybody in the department, and certainly everybody in the Air Force, understands what a serious matter this is. They have made adjustments to their security protocols at Andrews. They've now ordered a full investigation of it, and they've gone a step further in order to look at all the security protocols at installations worldwide. So let's let them do their work.
Kirby also spoke about the United States military plans for stand-downs pausing regular activity at some point in the next 60 days. Now moving on, the United States says that it has affirmed to the centrality of the transatlantic relationship with the EU3 in dealing with issues. The State Department said Secretary of State Antony Blinken held a virtual meeting with his British, French, and German counterparts. The United States State Department said that the leaders discussed coronavirus pandemic, Myanmar, Russia, China, and climate change. It added Blinken underscored U.S. commitment to coordinated action to overcome global challenges. French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian said that the leaders had an in-depth conversation on Iran to handle nuclear and security challenges. In Chile, hundreds of anti-government protesters hit the streets of the capital, Santiago, calling for an end to inequality. Police and riot gear used water cannons and tear gas to disperse the demonstrators. The demonstrations called for reforms to existing pension, healthcare, and education systems. The South American country has seen protests against stark inequality for over a year now. Chileans voted in favor for a new charter to replace the country's Pinochet-era constitution in late last October. In northern Madagascar, scientists have announced the discovery of a new subspecies of chameleon. The newly found species, dubbed Brookesia nana, were discovered by a German Madagascan expedition team. The scientists say that the subspecies is about the size of a sunflower seed. The male Brookesia nana has the length of 22 millimeters, while the female is significantly larger, having an overall length of 29 millimeters, making it the smallest known species of reptiles. 4 SpaceX Crew 1 astronauts living abroad at the International Space Station are set to surpass the United States record for most days in space. In a statement, NASA said that the crew members will surpass the record of 84 days set by Skylab 4 crew on February 8th in 1974. The flight engineers docked the spacecraft to the Harmony Module's International Adapter on the 16th of November 2020. NASA said that the space station's orbital path will take it within the sliding range of Tampa, Florida. It said that if the weather allows, Super Bowl fans in Tampa may be able to spot the station. New Zealand has celebrated its National Day Waitangi, culminating almost a week of celebrations, speeches, and ceremonies. The day marks 181 years since the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi between the British and the Maori chiefs in 1840. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern spoke at a dawn ceremony that, despite the coronavirus pandemic, was attended by thousands. At the end of the ceremony, she served the barbecue breakfast among the participants. During her address, Ardern said she acknowledged the partnership between all New Zealanders to strive for better.
May we achieve understanding and knowledge. Today, we mark the Treaty of Waitangi, Te Tiriti o Waitangi. We acknowledge our partnership, constantly learning, striving for better, holding hope for the future.
Chinese people are gearing up for the upcoming Lunar New Year. They are preparing festive delicacies and rehearsing folklore performances for celebrations with coronavirus precautions in place. More in this report.
With their own local traditional customs, people all over China are engaged in the festive atmosphere. From food that bears auspicious meanings to performances, flowers and presents, Chinese people are gearing up to express best wishes for the Year of the Ox. In Sichuan province, the residents of Zhangongling village put on local bull dancing to mark the most important festival of the year, which falls on February 12th.
The festive atmosphere rose up when the performance started and the scrolls were written. In the new year, I hope all my family members can be healthy and that our beautiful village can be built better and better.
Food is the essence of festivities and has a specific significance attached to it. In Nanling County of Anhui Province, families will have a reunion meal with 8 dishes to wish for a prosperous new year. In Jinhua City of China's Xinjiang Province, there is a custom of eating steamed buns with red prints, which means reunion and prosperity. The festival is also a stimulus to the country's consumer market, which is seeing a steady recovery from the coronavirus economic woes. Flowers, food, decorations, and zodiac patterns are the hot items.
We want to share the delicious food with our neighbors. I hope that our lives will become better. I hope that we can be as healthy and beautiful as these blooming flowers, and that our lives will also be as prosperous as these flowers.
China's public holiday will be from February 11th to February 17th, but the government hopes to discourage travel for Lunar New Year this year due to the coronavirus pandemic. This holiday traditionally sparks what has been called the world's largest annual human migration.
It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. In the United States, new job creation in the month of January has fallen behind economists' expectation. The Department of Labor data shows that the addition of 49,000 new jobs against a forecast of 100,000. The report said the growth of jobs in service and education sectors was suppressed by the decline in jobs across the economic sector. It said that the number of jobs in entertainment, hospitality, retail, and healthcare sectors dropped significantly. However, with new jobs growth, the unemployment rate fell from 6.3% to 0.4% lower than December. But the report added that it was not enough to significantly improve the unemployment situation in January. The International Monetary Fund has warned of a lost generation if the low-income countries do not get more help. Addressing a video conference, IMF Chief Kristalina Georgieva urged advanced economies to provide more resources to avert the danger. Georgieva said 50% of the developing countries are at the risk of falling behind. She said an emerging great divergence in global growth could risk stability and trigger social unrest. The IMF had also urged heavily indebted countries to seek debt restructuring and boost conditions for growth. Georgieva said that the accelerating vaccinations could add $9 trillion to the global economy by 2025, with 60% of the benefits going to the developing countries. Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is poised to become the first African and first woman to lead the World Trade Organization. The development comes after her South Korean rival withdrew and the United States expressed strong support for the Nigerian. Former U.S. President Donald Trump wanted South Korea's Trade Minister Yoo Moon-hee as WTO's chief, but President Joe Biden's administration has pledged to work with the Nigerian on needed reforms. In a statement, the White House lauded Okonjo-Iweala experienced at the World Bank. Dr. Okonjo-Iweala is an economist and already enjoys broad support from the WTO members, including the European Union, China, and Australia. In cricket, Pakistan leads South Africa by 200 runs in their second innings of the final test at Rawalpindi Stadium. The host ended day 3 on 129 for 6 after bowling the Proteas out for just 201 runs. For the visitors, George Linde took 3 wickets while Keshav Maharaj grabbed 2. Earlier in the day, a 5-wicket haul by Hassan Ali restricted the visitors to a low total, giving Pakistan a handy lead. Tiba Muavma was the top scorer with 44 runs, while Wian Mulder added 33. Pakistan lead the 2-match series 1-0 after winning the first test by 7 wickets. Now, cricket analyst Adnan Siddiqui is with us for more on this. 12 wickets lost during the third day. Was the pitch so much difficult to bat on?
No, I don't think the pitch is very difficult to bat on. I think the Pakistani batsmen are not applying themselves at all. The opening pair is a consistent issue. I've talked about that before as well, and they have the same problem again in the second innings. You lost both openers cheaply. They put a lot of pressure on the lower order. And then the rest of the batsmen just did not come through. We're lucky that Fahim Ashraf and Rizwan had a small rescue act and have got us over 200, but I still don't think we're in a safe position. The pitch is not doing much. It is turning a little bit, but you just need to apply yourselves and stay at the wicket. That's the kind of pitch this is.
Now, Mr. Qureshi, what a comeback by Hassan Ali as he took 5-wicket haul. How do you see his performance?
Hassan Ali is a long overdue performance, and I'm very happy that he's come back very strong, and he's got these 5 wickets. He thoroughly deserved it. He bowled very well in that first innings, and he got those 5 wickets. I'm very happy for Azhar Ali and very happy for Pakistan that we have one of our strike bowlers back in form.
Mr. Qureshi, Pakistan ended the third day at 129 for 6. What could be the winning target?
I called it earlier. I said they should score about 250 to be in a safe position. I would really be happy if they got a 300 lead, another 100 runs maybe. That would really secure a victory for Pakistan. But they have to get through that first session without dropping any more wickets, and then let's see how it goes. But I think 250 would be a reasonable target to give South Africa and maybe win this test match.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Qureshi, for speaking to Indus News. It's now time to take a look at the weather around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at Indus.News.